right, Badgers. Holy shit. First of all, happy January 2026, right? But holy crap. This is the start of season 5. Yeah, you heard that right. Your girl has been behind this mic for 5 freaking seasons. And just thinking back to like when I first started, oh my God, how scared I was, how awful it sounds, right? 2 episodes every single week, Monday morning quickies, and then this longer form badassery. That's 100 plus episodes a year of me, myself, and I being the entire damn production team. There's no fancy studio that has like sound, like blocked out sound and all the bells and whistles. There's no team editors, no assistant to upload while I'm just hanging out, sipping on coffee. I am the executive producer, the writer, the host, the editor, the sound engineer, and the upload monkey all rolled into one chalk covered package, right? And just want to spin some brutal reality of podcasting just to give you an idea, because I hear people all the times like, oh, I should do a podcast. 47% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3, and they call it the 3 episode graveyard. 75% are dead by episode 25. Only 8.53% ever hit 50 episodes, and a measly 2.35% make it to 200 episodes. And of those still standing, only 1% produce multiple episodes weekly by themselves. Again, I am the 1%. I am the 1% in training. I am 1% here. I am 1%, and I am heading to be the 1% in dominating all aspects of my life. But let's move on from that. There are 4.42 million podcasts out there, but only about 440,000 are still active. And you love when I mess up and I don't edit it because it's real, right? Translation is most people quit when they realize that it's actual work. They just think that podcasting is just sitting down and we're just going to have a little convo into the mic, but they don't know about, oh my God, I forgot to edit the podcast at 3 a.m. And then you have this 3 a.m. like crazy editing session. The re-records. Oh my God. When, I've had it where we've lost power or the internet went down, or crazily enough, my neighbor is outside tearing down like ivy that's growing up the side of his house. And it's almost reminded me of like Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation when he's just out there saying the shitter's full. He's like over there talking to himself, and I'm trying to, record a podcast. Or, the 47 takes to get into the right intro because my brain decided how to forget how words work and to make my mouth make them happen. And you know that when you listen to me, I fumble and I don't edit because it's real. So fun facts before we get into today's episode, because this isn't today's episode, but I just wanted to take a moment and celebrate in the fact of like just the totally epic win of seasons. Oh my God, 5 seasons, right? So fun facts that'll make you side eye your favorite podcaster. So the average podcast produces 7 episodes before pod fading into oblivion. 60% quit within 6 months, right when the honeymoon phase ends. The most successful podcasters have teams of 3 to 7 people. Solo podcasters who produce 2+ episodes weekly, we're less than 0.5% of all podcasters. Every 3 days, 11,373 new podcasts launch, thinking, it's just talking. So the fact that I'm a solo podcaster and I am still here because I am me, myself, and my team, I am solo, is a huge feat in and of itself. But here's the thing, because I am still here, 5 seasons, 500 plus total episodes, 2 wildly different formats every week, and I haven't hired a single soul. I don't even charge for my podcast either because I want to give this information to you, right? And, it's not because I'm too cheap or, whatever, but because this is my voice. It's my message, and it's my middle finger to everyone who said it wasn't sustainable. And I don't want to be told what I can talk about, how I can talk about something. That I'm not allowed to swear because that's just part of who I am, even though it's not gratuitous. And this is what happens when you treat podcasting like training. You show up whether you feel like it or not. You do the unsexy work nobody sees. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and you start before you're ready and you figure it out as you go. And oh my God, I'm still figuring it out 5 seasons in, right? So cheers, yay me, to season 5, Badgers. Thanks for being part of it. I wouldn't be here without you, for listening to me, for all the feedback that I get. I really appreciate it. You mean so much. And here's to being part of the 0.5% who refuse to pod fade, refuse to, I don't want to half-ass it, and I refuse to let anyone else water down my message, right? One woman, 2 episodes a week, 5 fucking fabulous seasons. Who's unstoppable now, people? Okay, all right, Badgers. With that, here's a pop quiz for you. So let's say you've lost 40 pounds, right? And you're deadlifting like an absolute beast, and your resting heart rate, it would make a cardiologist weep with absolute pure joy and pleasure, right? So why are you still introducing yourself as quote unquote trying to get in shape? And why do you still flinch when somebody calls you an athlete? I still get this. I mean, crazy. I'm 53. I have been in sport and fitness since I was 8, competitive, all different kinds, right? And I still at times feel like, wait, what? I like I'm an imposter, right? Why do we dodge photos like we're in some crazy witness protection program? And why do we still reach for XL when you've been in a size medium or small for 6 months? And now listen, I'm not going to lie. There is something that is great about a super cozy, oversized pair of sweatpants, which I'm in now. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. So I'm Krista. I am the host of the Gritty Glitter Badger podcast, and I would like to welcome you to identity lag, right? Because this could be one of the most insidious forms of self-sabotage that perhaps nobody warned you about. And with that, let's cruise on in to the topic of the day. Identity lag, when your body evolves faster than your self-image. And I want to dissect the gap between who you are and who you think you are and how it affects progress. So let's get into the mindfuck that nobody talks about. Here's what happens. Okay, your body changes, right? Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, but it's changing and it changes, right? Your capabilities expand, your pant size shrinks. Perhaps if if you're growing your glutes, but you know what I mean. There are positive changes that are happening, right? And your energy skyrockets. But your brain is still living in your old body, and it's grasping and clutching your old stories like a security blanket made of excuses and limiting beliefs. And this isn't some woo-woo mindset problem, right? Because I am also a mindset coach. This is actual neuroscience. Your brain has spent years, maybe decades. For most of us, I would say decades, reinforcing neural pathways that say this is who you are. And those pathways, they don't give a shit that you can now run a 5K or that you ran a 25K trail race, right? Or that you have lifted a 300-pound deadlift, or you have done this, or you have done that, right? They're still firing off the same old program. You're not a runner. You're someone who tries to run. And this gap, this disconnect between your current reality and your mental programming, it's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. So why does identity lag kill your progress? And the science should piss you off. So I want to get nerdy because you know how much I love all things science and data and research. And, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely vibe podcasting, is because it allows me to dip into my sciencey side and read articles and do research and prepare for these podcasts. And it's important though, because understanding the mechanism is how it helps you begin to break through and hack the system, right? So Your brain operates on something called the self-consistency principle. So basically, it hates when your actions don't match your self-concept. It's like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. And it made me think of this because my granddaughter does this, right? It's technically possible, but everything feels a little fucked up. And when she puts her shoes on, I mean, and she's 8, it's just she wants to get to do things, like she just sticks her feet in without, and I will ask her, how do they feel? And she'll look and she's like, they don't feel right. That's what this concept is, right? And Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who is the OG of self-image psychology, found that people literally cannot outperform their self-image long term. Want you to listen to that again. That people literally cannot outperform their self-image long term. You cannot sustainably be better than who you think you are. Your brain is going to sabotage you back to baseline every single time. And research from Harvard shows that 92% of people who lose significant weight, they gain it back within 2 years. And do you know why that is? It's not because they're weak. It's because they've never updated the mental software to match what they are currently doing. They're still running fat person 1.0 while living in fit person 5.0, right? And the cognitive dissonance literally drives them crazy until they eat their way back to matching their mental image. It's just this bizarre, it's literally like there is a battle going on inside your mind, right? And it's fucked up. Is it preventable? Absolutely 100%. So there are 3 stages of identity lag, right? And I want you to listen to these and I want you to decide, like, which one do you think is screwing you over? So stage 1, this is the denial phase, right? This is this isn't really me. For me, example, it would be still having people call me an athlete or me saying I'm an athlete. And there's a part of me that's like, no, even though I am, and it's not true, right? I'm like, I'm not an imposter. So you've made changes, but you're convinced that they're temporary. And you could use phrases such as, I'm having a good streak, or let's see how long this lasts. I got lucky with genetics kicking in. The scale must be broken. You're basically telling the universe you're just borrowing this new body and you fully expect to return it. Like that shirt that you bought, and you're like, oh, well, I still have the receipt. So I'm going to take that back and I'm going to return it. So stage 2 is the imposter phase. So it's kind of interesting because for me, when I was researching this, 1 and 2 hit me in terms of what I was talking about with like the athlete, right? So this is the imposter phase, the I'm pretending to be fit. And you're doing all of the right things, but you feel like a fraud. You think, God, they're going to figure out that I don't belong here, or real athletes don't struggle like I do, or I'm just playing dress up in workout clothes, or maybe it's any day now, someone's going to call me out. You're performing fitness rather than being fit, and everything feels like cosplay, right? It's like just a big convention, if you will. So, stage 3, this is the sabotage stage, and this is the let me fix this discomfort. And what happens here? The gap becomes unbearable, so you unconsciously close it. And basically, what you're doing is by doing this, you screw up your progress, mysteriously forgetting to track your food, getting too busy for the gym, picking fights with your workout buddy, or whoever it is that you go train with. Maybe it's finding reasons with your programming why it's not working, and then you just start to program hop and you can't settle in, right? You're not weak, you're just desperately trying to match your outsides to your insides, and there's a disconnect. So what's the brutal truth about why you're stuck? Here's the tough love that you come for when you listen to my podcast. You know me, I'm not a sugarcoater, and like I said, my podcast isn't for everybody, and I'm totally okay with that. You're comfortable being uncomfortable with yourself, right? That's what I need you to do. I need you to be comfortable being uncomfortable with yourself. You know, because, and I'm speaking from experience, we've spent so long identifying as someone who struggles, someone who's working on it, somebody who's perpetually getting started, that you don't know who the fuck you really are without the struggle. Struggle is your identity. It's your story that you have created and you are now becoming it. And it is your personal reality. It could be, it's not that your identity isn't fat person or out of shape person. It's person who's trying to change. And guess what? If you actually change, you lose that identity. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about this, and he uses the example of a smoker. And one person says, I'm quitting, and another person says, I am not a smoker. Well, the person who says, I'm quitting smoking, they didn't stick to the habit change. The person that said, I am not a smoker, they literally stuck to the habit change, and they maintained not smoking because they changed their identity. I am not a smoker is totally different from I am quitting, or I am giving up smoking, or I will not smoke, right? Okay. See, you keep yourself in perpetual transformation mode, and you never quite arrive, because arriving means you've figured out who you are instead of who you're becoming. Because if you're constantly becoming, what are you doing? You are constantly becoming. You're addicted to the journey because you're terrified of the actual destination. And then when we hit that destination, we know the next train has to leave for the next destination. So, real world symptoms, and this is where it's time to get uncomfortable. And I want to get specific about how identity lag shows up, because half of you are still in denial. So in the gym, this could look like you still use beginner equipment, even though you could crush the advanced stuff. Like you're still lifting baby weights when you could be down there picking up the big freaking dumbbells, right? Or this one is huge, and I noticed this with women, not with men. Apologizing for taking up space in the weight room. Please stop that. Do not apologize. You have every right to be there, just like every single other person. Or you say shit like, I'm really not a gym person, while you're at the gym. Okay. Do you see what's happening here? You downplay your PRs, and, oh, it's not that much weight. I do that. I do that. And then I have to like check myself. It's like, okay, Krista, look at what you just did. And I do have, so there, I found there's a way to like download the totality of how much weight you lift in an entire session. And by doing that, it's actually changed my mind on viewing like how much weight and what I'm actually doing in the gym. And it's a really cool thing. So something else, let's talk about, real world symptoms in your closet, keeping bigger clothes just in case. And I'm not talking about, like I said, about the cozy, baggy sweatpants. I'm not keeping those because it's a just in case. I'm keeping those because I freaking like them, and I still have all my smaller clothes that I wear at the same time, right? You know, I'm talking about the in case of, but in case of what? Like a nuclear winter? I don't understand that, right? And also, you're sending a mixed signal. Buying clothes two sizes too big because it's more comfortable. Again, there's a flip side to that. There are times where I like comfort. I don't buy them for any other reason than that. There's no just in case attached to it. Or, maybe it's hiding your body constantly in something, as opposed to, wearing the tank top or the sports bra, right? And here's one. This is interesting. Avoiding mirrors like they're portals to hell, or not being in a picture or having your picture taken. That's another one that I notice a lot. In your relationship, it could show up still hanging with people who enable your old habits. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That proximity principle. What's their average, right? Do you need to audit? Apologizing for ordering healthy food. This was something that has come up with me, not so much now, but in the past. Oh my God. And then everybody wanted to like try to fix me or do this or do that. It's like, I'm fine. I'm an adult. Please stop. Downplaying your progress. Oh, I've only lost a few pounds or whatever, or letting people call you by old nicknames that don't fit anymore. And then what's happening in your head? The voice in your head still sounds like old you, whatever the noisy roommate is saying, it's like hasn't caught up yet, right? You catastrophize every minor setback as falling off the wagon. You can't accept compliments without deflecting. That is still something that is tough for me, but I've gotten better. And you still identify with every before photo you see. So the identity update protocol that I'm going to give you, no more excuses, okay? Enough diagnosis. It's time for the actual remedy. It's time for the antidote, the cure. And fair warning, this isn't comfortable. Updating your identity, it requires you to kill off parts of your old self, right? And that shift feels like death because it is. And it's something that we don't talk about. Like, it's being thankful for that person, because understanding that you did the best you could at the time, right? And forgiving yourself for that. And then it's like moving through. There's a limbo that happens where you are still that person and the new person, and it's being able to cut those ties, right? So first, stop living in fantasy land. Document your actual current state. Maybe it's taking measurements, real ones, not sucking it in, right? I like to measure my biceps before I work out and after a good arm day. And there's some growth there. A little bit, but there's growth, right? Not the same thing, but just made me think of that. List everything you can do now that you couldn't do before. Write down every PR, every milestone, every victory. Take photos, yes, without the flattering angles. I think in today's society with social media, we see so many people online at every angle. All the lighting has to be exactly right. And if we see them out in real life, we're like, oh, wait a second, is that you? It's like a totally stark difference, right? And it's not about vanity, it's evidence. Your brain needs proof, and you're going to beat it into submission with facts. So, step 2, this is the language audit, and this would be weeks 3 through 4. So, your words create your world, right? How you talk to yourself. Words are everything. And right now, your words are sabotaging you. And these words, there are things that you think in your head. Maybe you say them out loud to yourself. Maybe you write them down, right? Whatever it is, stop saying, I'm trying to get in shape, and say, you are in shape. Or stop saying, I'm not really a runner. Say, you run, therefore you're a runner. I used to be heavy. That's not who you are now. I'm working on it will be you've done the work, right? So start saying, I lift weights 4 times a week. I am an athlete. I take care of my body. This is how I live now. Every time you catch yourself using old identity language, do 10 burpees, do 5 burpees, right? Whatever. Do 10 burpees and 10 push-ups. And I'm not kidding. Like, physical consequences for mental fuckery. And you're going to remember that. You'll be like, it's going to make you think twice about saying something negative to yourself about yourself. It's like the ultimate badass badger reframe, right? But it comes with a physical consequence. So step 3, and this is the evidence board, and this would be weeks 5 through 6. And what you do here, our brains need consistent reminders of who we are now. So it could be putting progress photos where you're going to see them daily. It could be screenshotting every PR and you make it your phone background. Maybe it's write I am statements and stick them on your mirror. Surround yourself with evidence of your new identity. This is not toxic positivity. This is a programming update. And 4, this is the behavior alignment. And this would be weeks 7 through 8. So start acting like the person you've become. Shop in the right clothing section. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Introduce yourself accurately. Own your achievements without disclaimers. If it feels fake, if it feels rough, good. That's your old identity dying and trying to pull you back. Let it go. So step 5, This is your social upgrade, and this is going to be ongoing. Your environment shapes your identity. So find your people, and hint, most likely they're not at a happy hour. Join communities that reflect who you are, not who you were. And you're going to find some push, right? You're going to find that there are, people that you're going to be spending less time with. Some people you will organically just move away from completely. Other people who used to be friends may now just become mere acquaintances, right? Stop explaining your journey to everyone and let go of relationships that keep you small. Now let's talk about the oh shit moments that actually signal progress. So here's how you know, some ways, these are only just a few, that you know the identity update is actually working. Someone calls you athletic and you don't argue about it. Or you walk past, maybe it's the plus size section, without even checking. You introduce yourself without mentioning your transformation. Maybe it's old friends say you've changed and you say thank you, even if they didn't mean it that way. Or you stop starting sentences with I used to be. Your inner dialogue sounds like a coach and not a critic. So the final boss move here, the integration, this is the hardest truth. Updating your identity isn't a one-time software patch or one-time upload, right? It's ongoing maintenance. Your brain is going to try to reinstall the old program every time you're stressed out, every time you're tired or vulnerable, or you feel overwhelmed or frustrated, or you're just feeling some kind of way and you don't know why you're feeling that way, right? The difference between people who maintain their progress and people who don't, the maintainers treat identity work like they treat their workouts, non-negotiable, consistent, even when they don't feel like it. So here's your identity lag emergency kit. Because you know what? I just want to give all the gifts in this first full week of January 2026. So, and also because it's the fifth season, yay! When you feel the gap widening, when the old stories start to creep back, the 5-minute reality check. So list 5 things you can do now that the old you couldn't. Look at one piece of evidence of your progress. Say one I am statement out loud. Do one thing new you would do, and tell old you, quite honestly, tell old you, fuck off, right? Like, I don't have time for this. Bye. The other one is pattern interruption. Notice the old thought, right? Say, that's old me talking. Ask, what would current me do? Do that thing immediately, right? No negotiation, no discussion. 3, this is the identity anchor. So pick one habit that the new you does. Do it every single day without exception, right? Execute it every single day. This becomes your identity touchstone. And when in doubt, always return to this anchor. So the uncomfortable truth about who you're becoming. And here's what nobody tells you about closing the identity gap, right? It's lonely at first, right? When you stop being who everyone expects you to be, some people won't like it. It is going to make them uncomfortable. It's going to rock their world. And when you stop bonding over struggles and you start bonding over strength, you are going to lose some connections. It's just going to happen, whether it's organically or it's you needing to start setting boundaries, right? And when you stop playing small, you are going to make others uncomfortable. You make them aware of their insecurities and what they aren't doing in their life. And that's good. Your job isn't to make everyone comfortable with your growth. Your job is to become who you actually are, not who you've been pretending to be, or who somebody needs you to be, or they want you to be to make them feel better in their life of complacency and mediocrity. The gap between who you are and who you think you are isn't just affecting your progress, it's stealing your life. Every day that you spend performing your old identity is a day that you don't get back, right? That return on time is once you spend it, it is gone. You get 86,400 seconds in a day. How are you spending them? And here's your choice. You can keep wearing an identity that no longer fits, or do the uncomfortable work of updating your mental software to match your physical hardware. One keeps you safe, but small. The other is going to set you free. So choose wisely because your future self is watching. And there it is, Badgers, the invisible mindfuck that has been sabotaging your progress, served with a side of science just as I like it, and a heavy dose of tough love. So, identity lag isn't some psychological concept to ponder over your protein shake. It's real reasons that are keeping you from starting over. It's why you can't seem to stick with it. It's why success feels scarier than failure. But here's this really beautiful, delicious, juicy, terrifying truth. You have the power to close that gap, right? Not through affirmations and vision boards. And there's nothing wrong with that because I love those. And if that's your jam, go for it. But remember this, it comes through consistent daily actions that prove to your stubborn ass brain who you really are. You know, and with that, if this hit you right in the feels, I love hitting you in the feels. You know, if you're sitting there realizing that you've been living in last year's identity or your identity of 5 years ago, or this one is quite popular, your high school identity, you know, it's that I'm going to call bullshit. And I want you to start to train your bodies and update your identity, right? One crazy bullshit story at a time. And also, I want you to celebrate the evidence. I know it's like we get told that don't constantly celebrate. Like I hear that, like all the you celebrate the wins, right? But don't celebrate it and take that as your mojo to move forward, right? That you are becoming and hold you accountable to living like, the athlete or the lifely or whatever it is that you already are. Because you can't out train an outdated identity. You can't out nutrition a nutrition plan that is loaded with your past limiting beliefs, and you sure as hell can't positive think yourself into alignment if you're still acting like it's last year's version of you. Because you know it's that the work isn't just physical. It never was, right? It's not just about the physicality. The real work is having the courage to let the old you go so the current you can actually live. Thank the old you, right? And also understand you are where you are now because of all of the choices that old you has made. So stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop deflecting compliments. Stop keeping, those just in case clothes, and stop introducing yourself with disclaimers, right? Stop playing small to make others feel comfortable and start living like the person that you've worked so damn hard to become. The gap between who you are and who you think you are isn't just slowing your progress, it's stealing your joy. So close the gap, right? Update the software, become unfuckwithable. So here I am, season 5 starting. Woo! I'm signing off with all the love and all the fire in my soul. And I would love you to get out there. And if you know somebody who would benefit from this podcast, please share it with them so that we can all start living like the badasses that we know that we are. So peace out, Badgers. Stay gritty.